Hey there, cats and kittens. It's Crossover Attack episode 19. Can you believe it? I'm Eric Freshley here, along with Constellation Explorer Hunter Davenport.
I have had very little sleep in the past couple days, and Eric has had as well.
Me too. I slept like 4 hours last night, and not because of Starfield, because of Baldur's Gate. But we'll get to both those games in a minute. Actually, you know what? We'll get to Starfield right now. Why make you wait, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Let's just do it. So I haven't played. Just real quick, I was planning on. So I don't really want to dive in deep until I'm finished with Baldur's Gate 3, but I thought I was just going to do a mess around stream on the day it launched, where I was just going to be a homicidal maniac because it wasn't my real playthrough, so who cares? But then I just wanted to play Baldur's Gate, so I did. So you go off, sir. Tell me how it's going.
I am 15 hours in to Starfield. I feel like I'm almost done with the campaign. I've been blasting through because I want to get the New Game Plus, because
that's what I've heard.
Greg Miller on Twitter has been going off for the past couple hours, being like, New Game Plus is the best in this game. And I'm like, I want to see what it is.
And not just him. I've heard that from Tom Warren, and several people are like saying that you just want to beat this campaign and get to the good stuff. And I don't know what that means, but apparently there's something waiting for you.
Oh yeah, and the campaign has been fairly decent. I mean, in terms of like Bethesda RPGs, I think it's one of the stronger campaigns. I've been really enjoying the story and just like seeing all the characters like interact with each other.
Yeah.
Go
ahead.
Okay, so as far as the game itself goes, I'm gonna make a bold statement here, and I've been thinking about this the 15 hours I've been playing. This is my favorite Bethesda game maybe ever.
Wow, and you are like a New Vegas diehard.
Yeah, this is incredible. I love this game so much, to be honest with you.
Tell me about your character. What's their background? What's your play style? What do you got?
The way I've been playing is I picked the Space Scoundrel trait.
Okay.
So I'm basically Han Solo. That was my whole goal. I use a pistol. I've been going down the ranks on that skill. Mostly I've just been doing like sciencey stuff, like outposts and scanning. So I was like, I want to explore as much as I can and kind of do as much as I can to have the crazy outposts and stuff.
What are the gameplay benefits to building outposts? Do they give you resources, or?
So you can get a ton of resources through them. You can also use them to generate credits.
Okay.
Also, there seems to be like certain crew members you can send there, and they'll give you like bonuses and stuff. So that's also helpful.
That's neat.
But yeah, it's cool. Like it's a good way. I've really enjoyed the crafting and stuff in this game.
So I always kind of I'm not an Elder Scrolls person because that setting doesn't do much for me. Although that's kind of ironic considering how I'm getting to Baldur's Gate. But normally medieval fantasy stuff is not for me. But I did play a lot of Fallout 4, and I have mixed feelings about that game. Ultimately, I did play it like 50 hours, so I can't really say I hated it if I played it for that long. But I had issues with it.
Yeah.
Number one is that shooting kind of sucked. Combat kind of sucked. But I've heard better things about this game's combat. How do you feel about it?
I think the combat's really good, actually. It's funny because I saw in the IGN review, they were like, the combat's pretty shallow. And I don't know. I feel like it is better than most Bethesda games, to be honest. Like, at least Bethesda Game Studios.
You mean to say you actually read the IGN review, didn't just look at the number and get mad?
No, I read it. I was curious to see why they thought that way.
We need to talk about reviews about this game in a second, but go ahead.
I find the combat to be really fun and enjoyable. It's difficult, like if you don't know, like if your skills aren't kind of like you don't spec a certain way and you try to play outside the way you spec'd. But once you kind of get in the rhythm of it and like figure out, okay, the guns can work this way, it gets easier and more fun, definitely.
Yeah, and I guess you shouldn't say anything about this because I don't know the actual answer, but I know at the end of that Starfield Direct, they tease some kind of powers. I don't know what
Yes.
that means exactly, and I'm wondering how that, I'd like to see how they all gel together.
Yeah.
So I'm excited.
I won't say anything about that because
Yeah,
I think
okay.
that it is fun when you finally see some of that stuff, and I don't want to.
Yeah. I don't want to know, but they teased it, and I'm excited to see what it is when I eventually get to this game. Which companion are you liking?
I really love Sarah Morgan. She's been the most fun to travel with. It's funny though because there are a lot of companions in this game. Like
I looked up a list last night.
There's 4 ones you can romance, but
not the robot.
Not unfortunately.
Fucking Larian would have let me do it. Larian would have let me do it.
So I do have to dock half a star to not be able to fuck Vasco, but the companions are great. There's crew members you find just out in the systems. Like I met this guy in a bar randomly. He's like, "Hey, can I join your crew?" I'm like, "Sure." And now he's on my ship. So, and you can bring him out, and you can also have them follow you around too. So
yeah, you get one at a time, right? Just like Fallout.
Yep, one at a time.
Yeah, that sounds neat. I do want to get to it. It does sound the most Mass Effect of all Bethesda games, which is that's my comfort food.
Yeah.
Mass Effect. So I'll probably get more into it than I did with Fallout even. And like I said, I talk negatively about Fallout 4, but I still put 50 hours into it. So maybe I'm just fucking complaining.
There's a lot to shit talk about that game, and I love that game.
Yeah.
There's a lot to talk about there. The Starfield, I am really loving. Like I said, it's one of my favorite Bethesda games now. It's high up there for me. Just so much fun and really enjoying that game.
One of the complaints I have heard about it is also a complaint I have about Baldur's Gate is that the inventory in neither game is very good. It's just hard. It's just probably hard to do in these RPGs where you can pick up everything. How do you sort that out? I don't know.
I think the problem is juggling a lot of systems, and they kind of didn't feel. It doesn't feel like they kind of thought about what that inventory system would be a whole lot. But I will say, once you get the cargo stuff onto your ship, it does help tremendously.
Good. Oh yeah, you didn't tell me. Have you built ships?
Yeah, I've been messing around with that. I've seen a lot of people say it's complicated, and it is a little complex, but I didn't really find it that hard to build things.
Good.
So, yeah, it's been a really enjoyable game. Probably my game of the year so far. Honestly, I'd put this a little ahead of game of the year, but that's just personally for me because I don't know in the larger sense of game of the year. I'm gonna say Baldur's Gate 3 is a better video game in a lot of ways.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. You came in the other day and said you had no complaints about Baldur's Gate.
I don't, but I really love this game.
What a fucking I know this is trite and every single podcast has said this, but goddamn, what a year!
Yep.
Zelda would run away with it any other year, and it's still I think it's probably still the front runner to win at the Keeley Awards. But
for sure.
But Baldur's Gate is right on its right on its heels, and I don't think Starfield's gonna win at the Keeleys, but it does have a chance at I think it will be game of the year for a lot of people.
Yeah.
It'll probably be the number 3. I don't know. Hey, and maybe even Spider-Man will shock us. And hey, there's still a new 2D Mario. Which we'll talk about that in a minute. Yeah, how about reviews for this game, man? It is
oh man,
it's dicey out there. Okay, I obviously haven't played the game yet. The 2 ones that are standing out are GameSpot and IGN because they were 7s when most other people were in the 8 or 9 range. And 7 is not. First of all, it's not a bad score at all.
No.
And secondly, it's not that far off from the other ones. I just think it's the fact that it's the 2 biggest websites that is making people lose their minds. And Dan Stapleton talked about this on Twitter today. When this happens with a multi-platform game, nobody really cares that much. It's just these first-party ones that either if you're a PlayStation guy, you want to fucking shit on it. If you're an Xbox guy, you want to hoist it up. And both the people are crazy.
Yeah, and it's sad too because everyone everyone I've talked to, like people like are generally in agreement that the game is great. Like it's not there's no real argument to be had. It's just, people for some reason think reviewers are bullying them or whatever when they say they didn't enjoy a game as much.
Yeah. And it's got an 88 in OpenCritic. Like, that's a damn good score. That's a really damn good score.
I think that's like 4 below Elden Ring or something crazy like that. Like,
it definitely would have got a 90 with co-op, but that's neither here nor there.
Yeah, hey, you know what? If this game was co-op, it would be crazy.
I know, but that would be very hard for them to do. I'm mostly, like, I would love it, but I don't blame them. I'm just kidding around.
Yeah, on the review thing, I don't know. I kind of look at it as like it doesn't really matter to me because at the end of the day, I love the game, or no one's really if you attack someone for loving a game, you're just the lamest person.
Yeah, you absolutely are. And even if you attack them for not loving a game, if you attack them at all, just like, all right, you can say I don't agree with it. You can even say, hey, I'm not going to read this person's reviews anymore. I disagree with it that strongly. But fucking, that should be about as far as you go.
Yeah, you shouldn't be attacking. You shouldn't be hurling racial slurs at a woman on Twitter because you disagree with their opinion.
Absolutely. Anyway, so this game got stolen. A couple days before release, a dude, I guess he worked, I don't know what store it was, but he worked at some store, and he stole a whole fucking pallet of copies of this game, apparently, and he was leaking.
How?
He's the guy who leaked 40 minutes of footage, like a couple days before it came out. And by the way, actually, the game is still not out, technically. But
no, it's in early access.
Yeah, for whatever that means. And then he started selling copies of this game, and they arrested him. Like, leaking footage is one thing, but when you start selling copies, what the fuck do you think's gonna happen? And his face was in the footage.
This is like that guy who got outed for leaking the Kojima game because they could see this reflection in the screen. If you're gonna be a criminal, at least be a smart one, I guess.
No shit.